What if I told you that manipulation isn't just a modern problem? My name is Aristotle, from ancient Greece, and I've seen these chains of influence trapping minds before, whether in the rhetoric of speeches, the rule of oligarchs, or systems designed to consolidate power. But I didn't just warn others about them. I taught how to break free from these chains through the power of reason. Let's explore my teachings on logic and critical thinking, showing how they cut through today's media noise, emotional traps, and the grip of economic and corporate systems manipulating society. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to use this wisdom to outsmart manipulation and make decisions that truly elevate your life. Let me take you back to my time, where the art of manipulation was alive and thriving. I taught in Athens during a period when some city-states experimented with democracy, while others remained oligarchies, in which small groups of people made all the decisions. I noticed the tensions between power, wealth, and justice, and decided to explore ethics, politics, and reason. A wealthy few controlled power, often at the expense of justice. They manipulated laws to protect their riches and silence opposition, leaving the people voiceless. I fought this imbalance with reason, teaching that a stable society thrives not on the wealth of a few, but on the virtue and wisdom of all. Back then, we also had to deal with the sophists, smooth-talking professionals with a talent for persuasion. Imagine them as the influencers of the ancient world. But instead of selling protein shakes, they sold arguments. They could convince you that the sky was green if it served their purpose. Their method? Skip the truth and dive straight for your emotions. Fear, anger, excitement, all the things that make your reason take a back seat. But I saw through their tricks and taught that persuasion without logic is like a house without a foundation. Impressive at first glance, but it collapses under the weight of scrutiny. The sophists relied on stirring emotions to bypass critical thinking. And though their words sparkled, they lacked substance. Does this sound familiar to you? It should. Your world has its own sophists. They hide behind clickbait headlines, emotional social media posts, and promises of instant gratification. Algorithms feed your outrage because it keeps you scrolling. Advertisements target your exhaustion with promises of happiness. The tactics are different, but the goal is the same: to manipulate you. Now let me tell you about Alexander. Yes, Alexander the Great, my most ambitious student. I didn't just teach him philosophy. I taught him how to think critically. Critical thinking guides our power. Without it, brilliance can become ruin. So here's your lesson. Whether facing ancient sophists or modern algorithms, pause and ask, what's the truth here? Logic is your greatest defense. Use it wisely. What a clever thief manipulation is. It slips past your defenses and clouds your judgment before you even notice. The secret weapon? Your emotions. Fear, anger, excitement. These are powerful forces, and when left unchecked, they can steer even the wisest minds astray. I called this pathos without logos, emotions running wild, without the grounding force of reason. It's not that feelings are wrong, but without logic, they become an open door for manipulation. In my time, I often reminded people that emotions, while valuable, have to serve reason, not overpower it. Think of a chariot. Your emotions are the horses, but reason must hold the reins. Fast forward to your world, and the game remains the same. Manipulation hides in algorithms that stoke your anger or feed your fears because outrage keeps you engaged. Advertisements promise instant happiness because they know you're tired and vulnerable. The tools may have changed, but the principles are identical. Emotional triggers are the manipulator's greatest ally. So what's the antidote? Thoughtfulness. Pause before you act. When something triggers a strong reaction in you, stop and ask, why do I feel this way? Is this feeling rooted in truth, or am I being led astray? Critical thinking is your shield against manipulation. It puts you back in control. Now ask yourself this. When was the last time you reacted out of pure emotion? Did you pause to consider if your feelings were being used against you? Next time, let logic lead, and watch the manipulators lose their grip. Critical thinking is a skill as essential in my time as it is in yours. Let me share what I learned in ancient Greece, where rhetoric ruled and manipulation thrived. The first step to clear thinking? Start with the facts. Logos, logic, must ground every argument. People's speeches can sparkle with passion, but can also lack a shred of evidence. Without facts, even the most eloquent argument crumbles. Next, consider the source. Ethos, credibility, is vital. Back in my day, Athens was brimming with voices. From street philosophers to orators in the assembly. Some spoke the truth, others peddled what people wanted to hear. The challenge? Knowing the difference. I taught my students to ask, Does this person live by their words? Are they guided by virtue, or are they just chasing applause? Even my own teachings had to earn trust. I reminded my students to question me too. Now about emotions. Pathos, feelings, can be a friend or foe. I've seen emotions ignite revolutions, but I've also seen them lead to chaos. Picture an impassioned crowd, stirred by a fiery speech, rushing to act without thought. That's a disaster waiting to happen. I'd tell my students, feel deeply, yes, but think clearly. Emotions are the wind. Let logic steer the ship. I often warned my students, do not accept what is easiest to believe. Truth requires effort. It hides in the spaces between competing arguments, not in the loudest voice. Your modern world faces a similar challenge. Algorithms feed you what you already believe, reinforcing biases and discouraging exploration. Yet reason, the foundation of a flourishing mind, is your antidote. I urged my students to seek out opposing views, not to defeat them, but to understand them. For in understanding lies wisdom, and in wisdom lies balance. Now let us speak of justice. A just society is one that seeks the common good, where the excesses of wealth and poverty are tempered by fairness. I taught Alexander, my most famous student, that ruling well is not about amassing power, but about creating balance. A ruler's greatness is measured by how well he harmonizes the interests of his people. Imagine if all of today's leaders sought harmony instead of dominance. What a flourishing world that could be. Balance is not just for societies, it is for individuals too. I spoke often of the golden mean, the virtuous middle path between extremes. By practicing this principle, individuals cultivate harmony in their character and actions, leading to a well-rounded and fulfilling life. Courage lies between recklessness and cowardice. Generosity lies between wastefulness and stinginess. Your lives filled with constant choices demand this same balance. Social media, for example, offers connection but also distraction. Use it, but do not let it use you. Set boundaries, my friends. Step away when it consumes your time and thoughts. Reflect, for clarity comes in the quiet moments. And what about happiness? Let us not mistake fleeting pleasure for true flourishing. True prospering in life is achieved through virtue, reason, and intentionality. It is not found in wealth, fame, or momentary satisfaction, but in the ripple effects of your actions. When faced with a decision, pause and ask yourself, does this create harmony and growth, or is it merely for my immediate gratification? By living intentionally, you align your actions with the virtues that sustain long-term happiness. So consider this. Every choice you make should pass through a single question, one that guided my life and my teachings. Will this action lead to a flourishing life, for me and others? This question is not about perfection, but about progress. When you act with reason and compassion, you create a life worth living, not just for yourself, but for all who share your world. So, my friends, seek balance in your thoughts and actions, for a well-ordered mind leads to a harmonious life. Strive for justice, not just for yourself, but for those around you. For justice builds trust and fosters unity. And most importantly, live with intention, guided by reason and virtue. For these are the pillars of a meaningful existence. In doing so, you honor the principles of a thriving life, grounded in purpose and integrity. And that, I promise, will elevate not only your own existence, but the world around you, leaving a lasting impact. Embrace wisdom with an open heart. True happiness is not found in passing pleasures, but in striving to be your best self, seeking growth with every step. Seek balance in all things, for virtue lies in the middle, between doing too little and doing too much. And in finding this middle way, you uncover the essence of a life well lived. This is the path to true fulfillment and enduring contentment. Here's the takeaway. Manipulation thrives when we stop thinking critically, but true wisdom empowers you to rise above it. Logic, reflection, and self-awareness aren't just tools, they're shields. So what's your next move? Share your thoughts below.